First contact gone wrong. The terraforming domes of New Shanghai glittered beneath the ruddy light of Proxima Centauri. Humanity's first extrasolar colony had flourished over its 20-year existence, transforming from a cluster of prefabricated habitats to a sprawling metropolis of interconnected biodomes. From his office in the administrative tower, Colony Director James Chen watched as the final preparations for the diplomatic reception neared completion. "Status report," he said, activating his neural interface. His assistant's voice responded instantly. "The conclave delegation will arrive in approximately 2 hours. The reception area is secure, and all protocols have been implemented according to their specifications. Your daughter's dance troupe is ready for the cultural exchange portion." Chen nodded, a mixture of pride and anxiety churning in his stomach. After decades of observing humanity from afar, the Galactic Conclave had finally extended an invitation for Earth and its colonies to join their interstellar alliance. Today would mark the first official diplomatic contact between humans and the 17 species that comprise the Conclave. "And the security teams?" he asked. "In position but discreet, as requested by the Conclave. They insisted our visible military presence be minimal." Chen frowned. "Keep our response teams on standby anyway. The Conclave may have been watching us for decades, but we've only had their transmissions to study. Better cautious than complacent." The door to his office slid open, and a slender 13-year-old girl bounded in, her excitement palpable. "Dad, Ms. Yamamoto says our costumes are perfect. Do you want to see our final rehearsal?" Chen's expression softened as he looked at his daughter, May. Born on Proxima, she represented the first generation of humans who had never known Earth except through education modules and family stories. "I wish I could, little star, but I need to review the diplomatic protocols once more." May rolled her eyes dramatically. "You've reviewed them 1,000 times. The Conclave just wants to see that we're civilized enough to join their club, right?" Chen chuckled. "Something like that. Your dance will be the heart of our presentation, showing that humans bring culture and art, not just technology." "I won't let you down," she said, suddenly serious. "You never could," he replied. "Now go finish preparing. I'll see you at the ceremony." After she left, Chen turned back to the panoramic window. The massive conclave vessel had just become visible, descending through the upper atmosphere, a gleaming construct that resembled a vertical city more than a spacecraft. "So it begins," he murmured. The reception pavilion bustled with activity as the conclave delegation emerged from their transport. Chen stood at attention, flanked by Earth's ambassador and the colony's administrative council. The delegation was led by High Arbiter Vox, a towering insectoid being whose chitinous exoskeleton gleamed with embedded ceremonial jewels. "Director Chen." The alien's voice emerged from a translation device. "The Conclave extends greetings to humanity and acknowledges this historic moment." Chen bowed respectfully. "High Arbiter, we are honored by your presence and the opportunity to demonstrate our worthiness to join the galactic community." The pleasantries continued as the delegation was guided through exhibitions of human achievements. Shen noticed how the various alien representatives, some gaseous, others aquatic in floating containment suits, and several humanoid, but with stark anatomical differences, regarded human technology with what appeared to be amusement. "Your fusion technology is quaint," remarked a gelatinous being identified as Science Minister Krell. "It shows promise despite its inefficiency." Ambassador Santos maintained her diplomatic smile. "We're eager to learn from the Conclave's advanced knowledge." "As is appropriate," Vox responded. "The Conclave guides younger species toward enlightenment, though the journey can take centuries." Chen detected the condescension, but kept his expression neutral. The Conclave clearly viewed humans as technological infants, and perhaps that was for the best. Earth's unified government had decided long ago to present themselves as less advanced than they truly were, at least until they understood the Conclave's intentions. The cultural presentation began with historical exhibits and artistic displays. When the time came for the children's performance, Chen felt a surge of paternal pride. as Mai led her dance troupe onto the stage. The children performed a carefully choreographed piece that blended traditional Earth dance forms with movements developed in Proxima's lighter gravity. He noticed the conclave representatives showing their first genuine interest. Several leaned forward, optical sensors and sensory appendages focused intently on the children. Then everything went wrong. During the final, May executed a spectacular leap that took her momentarily beyond the designated performance area, bringing her within 2 meters of High Arbiter Vox, the security chief of the conclave delegation. A reptilian being called Drex reacted instantly. A weapon materialized in his clawed hand, and before anyone could react, a pulse of energy struck Maya directly in the chest. Time seemed to stop as Chen watched his daughter crumple to the floor, her costume smoldering. The other children froze in horror. "Me!" Chen's scream broke the silence as he rushed forward, only to be restrained by Ambassador Santos. "Security protocol implementation," Drex announced calmly. "Unknown entity breached the protective perimeter of the High Arbiter." "She's a child," Chen roared, breaking free and running to May's side. But even as he gathered her limp form in his arms, he knew she was gone. The human security teams emerged from concealment, weapons drawn, and aimed at the conclave delegation. For a terrible moment, it seemed a firefight would erupt. Ambassador Santos' voice cut through the tension. "Everyone stand down. This is a diplomatic incident, not a battle line." High Arbiter Vox tilted his head, compound eyes reflecting the scene dispassionately. "Regrettable, but standard procedure. Your juvenile breached security parameters." Chief Drex responded according to protocol. Chen looked up from his daughter's body, tears streaming down his face. "You murdered my child for dancing too close to you. The conclave offers compensation for your loss," Vox continued, seemingly unmoved. "Once your species joins the conclave, you will understand the primacy of hierarchical protection protocols." Ambassador Santos stepped forward, her face ashen, but her voice steady. "High Arbiter, this incident requires immediate diplomatic resolution. We request the surrender of Security Chief Drex to human authorities for trial under our laws regarding the killing of a minor." The conclave representatives chittered and bubbled in what the translation devices rendered as laughter. "Impossible," Vox stated. "Conclave personnel are immune from prosecution by non-member species. We will conduct an internal review, but Chief Drex acted within established parameters." Chen gently laid May's body down and stood, his grief transforming into cold rage. "Get out," he said quietly. "Director Chen," Santos began. "Get out," he roared at the aliens. "This diplomatic contact is terminated. You will leave our colony immediately." Vox's antennae twitched. This emotional response is noted but irrelevant. The path to conclave membership requires acceptance of our hierarchical structure and protocols. We will depart and allow your species time to process this cultural adjustment. The conclave will contact Earth's government directly in one standard cycle to resume discussions. As the delegation retreated to their transport, Chen knelt once more beside his daughter. His neural interface activated automatically as his vital signs indicated extreme distress. "Director, medical teams are en route," his assistant's voice informed him. "Contact Earth Central Command." Chen responded, his voice hollow. "Priority Alpha. Authorization, Chen 9 Prometheus." There was a pause. "Sir, that authorization code is." "Do it now. Tell them to implement the Guardian Protocol. Tell them." His voice broke. "Tell them they killed my little girl for dancing." On Earth, in the hidden facility beneath the Mariana Trench, General Amara Okafor stared at the emergency transmission in disbelief. Around her, the command center had fallen completely silent. "Verification confirmed," her executive officer reported quietly. "The incident occurred exactly as Director Chen described. The conclave delegation has departed Proxima and appears to be returning to their territory." Okafor closed her eyes briefly. "Has the UN Security Council been notified?" "Yes, General. They're convening now. And the status of the Guardian fleet. Her XO straightened. Awakening procedures can begin immediately upon receiving the authorization codes from the Security Council. Okafor nodded grimly. Humanity has hidden its true strength for centuries, waiting to understand the cosmos before revealing our potential. We presented ourselves as technological adolescents to the Conclave, hoping to learn whether they would be partners or threats. She looked around at her staff. We have our answer. Her secure terminal chimed, indicating an incoming transmission from the UN Secretary-General. It appears the decision has been made, she said. Prepare to awaken the fleet. The wall screens around the command center illuminated, revealing vast underwater hangars where thousands of advanced vessels, far beyond the technology humanity publicly acknowledged, waited in dormant status. The Guardian Fleet, humanity's secret insurance policy against hostile cosmic forces, was about to be revealed. As the Secretary-General's grim face appeared on her screen, Okafor knew that the galaxy was about to learn a profound truth. Humanity had never been a primitive species seeking admission to the galactic community. They were the descendants of starfarers who had once ruled 1,000 systems, who had chosen isolation and humility until they could be certain that their return to the stars would not repeat the mistakes of their ancestors. That time of hiding was now over. The reckoning. The Conclave Central Chamber teemed with representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations, their voices rising in a cacophony of alarm and disbelief. High Arbiter Vox stood at the center dais, attempting to restore order. The human response is disproportionate, he insisted, his translator conveying his clicking speech. They must be made to understand their place in the cosmic hierarchy. Science Minister Curl's gelatinous form pulsed with agitation. You fail to grasp the magnitude of our miscalculation. The long-range sensors don't lie. The humans have activated technology that should be impossible for their developmental stage. The chamber's main display showed a real-time feed from the observation outpost at the edge of the Sol system. What had begun as a trickle of unusual energy signatures from Earth had become a torrent. Vessels of sleek, predatory design were emerging from hidden facilities on the planet's surface, beneath its oceans, and from concealed bases on its moon and Mars. Impossible, muttered Vox. Their most advanced ships are primitive fusion drive vessels with rudimentary defensive capabilities. Evidently not, said Ambassador Threll of the Arakthy Collective, the oldest member species of the Conclave. The avian being's feathers were flattened in what those familiar with her species recognized as extreme concern. I warned against hasty judgment of this species. Their historical records showed anomalous gaps, and their technological progression curves defied standard modeling. What are you suggesting? Demanded Drex, the security chief who had fired the fatal shot on Proxima. Threll fixed him with a four-eyed stare. I am suggesting, Chief Drex, that you may have killed the child of a species that has been concealing its true nature from us, rather than the other way around. The chamber fell silent as a new alert sounded. The display shifted to show a single human vessel that had appeared at the edge of the Conclave's home system. Unlike the military vessels gathering in the Sol system, this ship was clearly diplomatic in design, sleek but non-threatening, bearing Earth's official insignia. They request communication, announced the chamber's eye. Vox hesitated, then nodded. Establish connection. The image of Ambassador Santos appeared on the screen. Her formal diplomatic attire had been replaced by a uniform bearing insignia no Conclave member had seen before. This is Ambassador Ileana Santos, representing the United Nations of Earth and her colonies. I am authorized to deliver this message directly to the Galactic Conclave Assembly. Vox stepped forward. The Conclave acknowledges Earth's representative. We are prepared to discuss the unfortunate incident. I am not here to discuss, Santos interrupted, her voice cold. I am here to inform. In exactly 48 hours, a fleet of Earth vessels will arrive at your location. This fleet represents a fraction of our military capability, a capability we chose to keep hidden until we could determine whether the greater galactic community would be allies or adversaries. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Before this diplomatic vessel departure system, we require two things, Santos continued. First, the immediate surrender of Security Chief Drex to face justice under human law for the murder of Mei Chen. Second, the Conclave's formal acknowledgement that the killing was unjustified under any civilized code of conduct. Vox's antennae twitched in agitation. The Conclave does not surrender its officials to non-member authorities. As for acknowledgement, the incident, while regrettable, occurred within established security protocols. Santos' expression didn't change. Then I am instructed to inform you that in 48 hours, the Guardian fleet will arrive to enforce our justice. We had hoped to join the galactic community as partners. Instead, we will enter it as judges. The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. General Okafor stood on the bridge of the GFS Prometheus, the flagship of humanity's Guardian fleet. Through the viewport, Earth grew smaller as the Armada, 5,000 vessels strong, prepared to make the jump to faster-than-light travel. All ships report ready, General, her executive officer announced. Okafor nodded. Before we depart, patch me through to all vessels. When the communication channel opened, she spoke clearly and deliberately. Men and women of the Guardian fleet, today we emerge from shadow centuries deep. Our ancestors, who once commanded the stars, chose isolation and reflection after the devastation wars nearly destroyed them. They built our fleet not for conquest, but as guardians against the day when humanity might face extinction or subjugation. She paused, looking around at her bridge crew. That day has come, not through invasion, but through the casual cruelty of a civilization that considers itself superior. They killed a child, not in self-defense, not in war, but because they could, because they believed we were too weak to respond. We go now not for vengeance, but for justice, and to ensure that no species in this galaxy ever again mistakenly believes that humanity will tolerate such actions. Okafor took a deep breath. Initiate synchronized jump. Space folded around the fleet as they engaged their gravity drives, technology that the Conclave believed was still theoretical rather than practical. The stars blurred, and Earth disappeared from view. Director Chen sat alone in his quarters on Proximab, staring at the holographic image of his daughter. In the week since May's death, he had barely slept or eaten. The colony administration had tried to function around him, but everyone felt the weight of his grief. His neural interface chimed. Director, we've received word from Earth. The Guardian fleet has departed for the Conclave homeworld. Chen didn't respond immediately. Finally, he asked, has the Memorialization Committee reached a decision? Yes, sir. The Central Plaza where it happened, will be renamed Mai Chen Memorial Plaza. The design for the monument has been approved. Good, he said quietly. She loved dancing in that plaza. She said the acoustics made her feel like she was dancing among the stars. After his assistant disconnected, Chen opened his secure terminal and typed in his authorization code. A classified file appeared, the true history of humanity that few even on Earth knew. He began to read, seeking understanding of why their ancestors had hidden their power and whether revealing it now was the right course. The historical record was clear. 3,000 years ago, humanity had spread across hundreds of star systems, building an empire through technological superiority and military might. But their dominance had bred arrogance, and arrogance had led to the devastation wars, conflicts that nearly annihilated their civilization. The survivors had made a solemn pact. Humanity would retreat to its homeworld and begin again. They would advance slowly, deliberately, learning wisdom alongside technology. The Guardian fleet and other advanced capabilities would remain hidden until humanity had evolved beyond the hubris that had nearly destroyed them. Chen closed the file and looked once more at May's image. Was it worth it? He whispered. All those centuries of restraint, undone in an instant because they killed one child. He already knew the answer. Mai hadn't just been one child. She represented everything humanity had struggled to become after learning the hard lessons of their past. Killing her for dancing too close to authority wasn't just a diplomatic incident. It was the perfect crystallization of why unquestioned power leads to atrocity. His neural interface chimed again. "Sir, we've detected unusual activity from the conclave vessel that departed last week. It's returned to the edge of our system, but hasn't approached." Chen straightened. "Open a channel." In the conclave central chamber, chaos reigned. The confirmed reports of the human fleet's capabilities had shattered all previous assumptions. Several member species were already withdrawing their representatives, unwilling to face what was coming. "We must surrender Drex," insisted Ambassador Threll. "The humans have technologies we believe were still theoretical. Their fleet will arrive in less than 24 hours. Surrender is weakness." Drex snarled. "I acted according to protocol." "Your protocol killed a child," Threll countered, "and may now endanger every civilization in the conclave." Science Minister Krell's form rippled anxiously. "We've completed analysis of their propulsion signatures. The humans appear to have mastered gravitational manipulation at a level beyond our most advanced theoretical models. Their weapons systems show energy profiles consistent with directed quantum disruption." "How is this possible?" Vox demanded. "Even if they were concealing their technology, the energy requirements alone would have been detected." "Unless," Threll said slowly, "they have solved problems our scientists still consider insurmountable." A junior aide rushed into the chamber. "High Arbiter, we've intercepted a transmission from the human colony to the conclave vessel we left in their system. Director Chen is speaking with Consul Zara." Vox tilted his head. "Display the transmission." The screen illuminated to show the haggard face of James Chen speaking with a slender reptilian female, one of the junior diplomatic representatives who had been present when Mai was killed. "Didn't expect any conclave vessels to return to our system," Chen was saying, his voice weary. "I came without authorization." "Director Chen," Zara replied, "what happened to your daughter was wrong. The official position of the conclave is political, not moral. Yet you risked returning." Zara's scaled head bobbed in what appeared to be a nod. "Because there is something you should know. The decision to treat humans dismissively was not unanimous within the conclave. Some of us argued for true diplomatic engagement rather than the patronizing approach that was adopted." "Why are you telling me this now?" Chen asked. "Because your fleet approaches, and I fear what will follow," Zara replied. "But more importantly, because you should know that Chief Drex's actions were not simply an overzealous security response. There is a faction within the conclave, led by High Arbiter Vox, that believes in maintaining strict hierarchical control over lesser species. They deliberately instructed the security teams to respond with disproportionate force to any perceived transgressions." Chen's expression hardened. "You're saying my daughter's death wasn't an accident or a misunderstanding?" "I am saying it was policy," Zora confirmed. "A policy designed to establish dominance from first contact. Many in the conclave disagree with this approach, but High Arbiter Vox's faction currently holds power." The transmission ended abruptly as Vox ordered it cut. The chamber erupted in accusations. "Is this true?" demanded Threll, her feathers now fully extended in threat display. "Did you deliberately order lethal force against a child as policy?" Vox's compound eyes shifted between the accusers. "The maintenance of proper hierarchy requires clear consequences. Humans needed to understand their place." "Their place?" Krell pulsed with indignation. "Their ships will be here in hours, with technology that appears to exceed our own. What place do you imagine we can force them into now?" Before Vox could answer, another alert sounded. The long-range sensors had detected the first wave of Earth's Guardian fleet entering the system, days ahead of their announced arrival time. "How?" gasped Danaid. "They should not have been able to cross that distance so quickly." Threll turned to Vox, her voice cold. "It seems, High Arbiter, that the consequences you speak of work in multiple directions. The humans are not coming in 2 days. They are here now." Outside the conclave central chamber, in the vacuum of space, thousands of advanced human vessels materialized in perfect formation. At their center was the massive flagship Prometheus, its weapon systems powered but not yet targeting. A transmission request came through, and this time it wasn't Ambassador Santos on the screen. It was General Okafor, her dark eyes as cold and unforgiving as the void of space. "This is General Amara Okafor of the Guardian Fleet. We are here for justice. You have 1 hour to surrender Security Chief Drex and those who ordered his actions. After that, we will extract them ourselves." In the stunned silence that followed, Threll looked to her fellow representatives. "I move for an emergency vote to remove High Arbiter Vox from authority and comply with the human demands." As the vote began, Vox backed toward the chamber exit, only to find his path blocked by members of his own security force. The tide had turned. The Conclave, faced with humanity's true power, was adapting to a new reality, one where the assumed hierarchy had been dramatically reversed. Justice and legacy. The orbital habitat that served as the Conclave's headquarters gleamed like a jewel against the backdrop of the gas giant it orbited. Inside the central diplomatic chamber, representatives from all 17 member species watched in tense silence as human security officers escorted the prisoners into the room. High Arbiter Vox, Security Chief Drex, and 3 senior officials who had authorized the dominance display policy moved in a tight formation, their limbs bound by energy restraints. They were brought before a newly installed tribunal bench where representatives from both the Conclave and Earth waited. Ambassador Threll, now serving as acting High Arbiter, rose from her seat. "This extraordinary tribunal is convened under emergency provisions of the Conclave Charter, with the consent of Earth's representatives. The accused face charges of unlawful killing and the deliberate endangerment of interspecies peace." General Okafor stood at the back of the chamber, watching the proceedings with arms crossed. Beside her, Director Chen appeared hollow, his grief etched into every line of his face. The journey from Proxima had aged him visibly. "I still don't understand why you pushed for this," Okafor said quietly to Chen. "We could have delivered justice our way." Chen's eyes never left Drex. "Because this isn't just about Mai anymore. This is about what comes after. The prosecution will present its case," Threll announced. Ambassador Santos stepped forward. "The facts are not in dispute. Security Chief Drex fired a lethal energy pulse at 13-year-old Mai Chen when she breached no meaningful security parameter. High Arbiter Vox and these officials created and approved a policy of disproportionate response to establish psychological dominance over humanity during first contact negotiations. Consul Zara, who had risked everything to reveal the truth, presented internal communications proving the policy's existence. The evidence was damning. Records of Vox instructing his security teams to respond with overwhelming force to even minor transgressions as a means of conditioning the humans to compliance. When the prosecution rested, Vox demanded the right to address the tribunal. "The actions taken were necessary," his translator conveyed. "New species must understand the strict hierarchical nature of galactic civilization. Without such order, chaos ensues." His compound eyes shifted toward the human delegation. "The humans proved my point by revealing their hidden military capabilities they concealed while presenting themselves as technological novices. They are the deceivers here." Director Chen stepped forward unexpectedly. "May I respond to the accused?" Threll indicated her assent. Chen faced not just Vox and the other prisoners, but the entire Conclave Assembly. "Yes, humanity concealed our true technological level. Our ancestors once ruled 1,000 star systems through technological superiority and military might. And do you know what happened? Our arrogance nearly destroyed us." The chamber fell silent as Chen continued. 3,000 years ago, humanity fought the devastation wars, conflicts that reduced our empire to ruins. The survivors made a solemn choice. We would retreat to our homeworld and begin again. We would advance slowly, deliberately, learning wisdom alongside technology. The Guardian fleet would remain hidden until humanity had evolved beyond the hubris that had nearly destroyed us. He took a breath. We hid our power not out of deception, but out of caution, both for ourselves and for any civilizations we might encounter. We wanted to understand whether the galaxy would treat us as partners or threats before we revealed what we could truly do. Chen turned to face Vox directly. You killed my daughter to teach humans our place in your hierarchy. In doing so, you forced us to reveal what we had hidden for centuries. The irony is that if you had simply treated us with basic decency, we would have gradually integrated into galactic society without ever revealing our full capabilities. The human speaks of decency, Drex growled, yet they threaten the entire conclave with military force over one child. General Okafor stepped forward. We deployed our fleet to ensure justice, not to conquer. Had we wanted dominance, we could have arrived without warning or ultimatum. The decision to reveal the Guardian fleet was not taken lightly, Ambassador Santos added. But when faced with a power structure that would casually execute a child and expect no consequences, we determined that continued concealment served neither humanity nor the galaxy. The tribunal deliberated for less than an hour before reaching their decision. Acting High Arbiter Threll announced the verdict. This tribunal finds the accused guilty of all charges. Under normal conclave law, the punishment would be exile. However, in recognition of the extraordinary nature of this crime and its consequences, we accede to human justice in this matter. Security Chief Drex snarled. So you will execute us. Prove yourselves the primitives we always believed you to be. Director Chen shook his head. No, Earth does not seek your deaths. The room fell silent as Chen continued. The human justice we seek is this. You will spend the remainder of your lives working in the memorial gardens we are building on Proxima, where my daughter died. You will tend the plants, maintain the grounds, and every day you will tell visitors the story of how your actions brought humanity's hidden power into the light. You will serve life, not death. Vox's antennae twitched in disbelief. You would spare us. Why? Because killing you won't bring my back, Chen said simply. And because the cycle of retribution is what nearly destroyed humanity once before. We learned that lesson at terrible cost. Perhaps now the Conclave can learn it at a lesser price. 6 months later, Director Chen stood in the center of the Mai Chen Memorial Gardens on Proxima. The once barren diplomatic plaza had been transformed into a lush ecosystem blending Earth's flora with compatible plants from a dozen conclave worlds. At its center stood a statue of a young girl in mid-dance, her arms outstretched toward the stars. It's beautiful, said Ambassador Threll, who had traveled from the conclave homeworld for the dedication ceremony. Now confirmed as the permanent High Arbiter, she had led sweeping reforms of the conclave's approach to diplomatic relations. She would have loved it, Chen replied. Mai always said that art was the true universal language. Around them, delegations from across the galaxy mingled with human colonists. The diplomatic reintegration of Earth into the wider galactic community was progressing cautiously but steadily. Earth had taken a seat on the newly formed Galactic Council of Equals, a dramatic restructuring of the previously hierarchical organization. The Children's Exchange Program begins next month, Threll noted. We have over 1,000 applicants from conclave worlds hoping to study on Earth or her colonies. Chen nodded. And nearly twice that number of human children eager to learn on your worlds. My daughter's dream of cultural exchange will be realized, even if she isn't here to see it. At the far edge of the garden, Vox and Drex worked silently, planting new seedlings under the watchful eye of human guards. Their once proud demeanor had given way to a subdued acceptance of their fate. Each day, they recounted their story to visitors, a living memorial to the consequences of arrogance and disregard for life. Have you decided whether to accept the Council's offer? Threll asked, changing the subject. Chen looked thoughtful. To lead the new Interspecies Justice Commission, I'm still considering it. Your perspective would be valuable. Few have experienced both the depths of loss and the responsibility of power as you have. Before Chen could respond, General Okafor approached, now wearing the formal uniform of Earth's Diplomatic Security Corps rather than military attire. "The Guardian Fleet captains are assembled for the ceremony, Director," she reported, "and the technical exchange teams are ready to begin the first phase of shared development." Chen nodded. The Guardian Fleet returned to Earth. "Most of it," Okafor confirmed. "As agreed, we've maintained a presence at key diplomatic locations, but the bulk of our forces have returned to standby status." "A gesture of trust," Threll observed. "But not naivety," Okafor added. "We've learned that balance is essential." A chime sounded, signaling the start of the dedication ceremony. As they walked toward the central pavilion, Threll spoke quietly to Chen. "Many in the conclave still struggle to understand how humans concealed such advanced technology for so long. Our scientists estimate that you were centuries ahead of what you presented to us." Chen smiled slightly. "The greatest technology humanity developed wasn't our ships or weapons. It was patience. Our ancestors understood that power without wisdom is destruction waiting to happen. And now, with your power revealed, now we must prove that we've truly learned the lessons of our past," Chen replied. "That's the true test, not whether we can build wonders, but whether we can use them wisely." The ceremony began with a dance performance by children from both human colonies and conclave worlds, their movements synchronized despite their different physiologies. As they danced, the memorial statue of Mai seemed to watch over them, her frozen form catching the light of Proxima Centauri. Ambassador Santos delivered the formal dedication speech, outlining the new Galactic Charter of Sentient Rights that had emerged from the crisis. Its first article, known informally as May's Law, established that no cultural or political difference justified violence against the innocent, particularly children, regardless of species. When it was Chen's turn to speak, he stood silently for a moment, looking at his daughter's statue. 6 months ago, a child died because one civilization believed its protocols and hierarchies were more important than a young life. In response, humanity revealed power we had hidden for millennia. Both actions changed the galaxy forever. He looked out at the assembled dignitaries. "Today, we dedicate not just a garden or a memorial, but a promise that power will serve justice, not